Welcome to Google Ads Unleashed, the podcast that helps you harness the power of Google Ads. And now your host, Jeremy Young.
Your CPCs are rising and it's draining your budget faster than you can actually top up your Amex in order to pay off all of the costs to Google. What can you do? This is what I'm going to get to the bottom of in this episode. Welcome back to Google Ads Unleashed, guys. Hope everyone is doing fabulously this wonderful Monday. Today I'm going to try and dive into a topic that is something that gets sought after quite a lot on Google. It's one of the top sort of things that people look for or are wondering on YouTube as well, for instance. What can they do when click costs rise in order to stay competitive and in order to, of course, lower their click costs so that they can afford more clicks? Let's dive right in because this is quite a complex topic, and I'm going to first of all break it down into what CPC, of course, is. Then I'm also going to talk about why it may not actually be a bad thing. Then thirdly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what issues could drive your CPC up and how to diagnose that. And then lastly, I will finish off with telling you some actionable insights, what you can straight away do in order to improve it. Let's dive right in. So first of all, what is your CPC? Your CPC, as the name implies, is your cost per click that you get on your campaign. So this is all of the costs that are generated divided by the number of clicks, and then you arrive at your CPC. Obviously, the cost isn't the causing factor. It's rather the cost of the clicks times your total clicks is, of course, your entire cost. And your CPC is determined by usually two things: your quality score or your ad rank and how well, or your quality score, so how well Google judges your ads. For keywords and search campaigns, this is quite obvious. For other types of inventory, it's not as obvious, but it does exist as well. For shopping, it's just a bit of smoke and mirrors. And your bid, and those combined determine your ad rank and how well Google likes you, and then your CPCs, okay, how much you are spending for each click. So this is what your CPC is. So typically you would of course want CPCs to be as low as possible to afford as many clicks as possible, to make your budget stretch longer and to make it last longer. But that's not always the case, okay? There is quite a lot of research. For instance, I have actually seen some really good posts from people such as, what's the fella's name? He is very good on LinkedIn, Boris Beckerich. He is one of the top PPC influencers worldwide, German fella, and he's done quite a lot of cool sort of little analyses on why higher CPCs are sometimes a good thing, because you are of course bidding for the most valuable clicks and customers there are, thus you have to pay a premium price to get them. But of course, typically you will always want to try and lower your click costs because click costs are constantly rising. This is just due to inflation, due to how the system works. The more people come into the system and use the ad platform, the noisier it gets, the harder it gets to stand out, the more you have to pay to stand out. But it is not all just down to that. There are some methods how you can actually try and mitigate this problem. And I'm going to tell you how to do that today, or at least how a few strategies of how to do that today. So let's start maybe first though with diagnosing what the issue could be of your rising click costs. Issue number one could be that Google simply is charging more. Google has been known to artificially inflate click costs, okay? This has actually happened and has been recorded. You can just look up the trials of Google versus the US Justice Court. where there has been some significant trials in the recent past where it was confirmed that Google simply cranked up the CPCs in the auction in order to hit quarterly goals. So the first thing that could be is that there's simply nothing you can do and Google is just ripping you off. And I know I say this as a Google Ads guy and I love Google. It's really afforded me a great life. But I have a very well documented love-hate relationship with Google because of shit that they pulled off like this. And this is one of the first things that could simply happen while your click costs are rising. Also, it's become more and more muddled in the recent past, right? So many moons ago, I remember that you would literally, if quality score is the same, you would literally pay exactly 1 cent more than the person below you when you were bidding. So that way you could have some really crazy click costs, or even just 1 cent or 1 pence click costs when no one else was bidding on something and you were the literally only one bidding on it, and you'd have click costs of like ridiculous, like 1 or 2 cents because there's no one else in the auction. But now, even when there's no one else bidding on your brand, for instance, sometimes there's some really bizarre hidden costs that Google puts in and very arbitrarily puts your CPCs at some random things. Basically the first point is what I'm trying to say is not everything is diagnosable, and Google is just very arbitrary and it is a monopoly, and we unfortunately have to accept that this is the playing field right now. I'm hoping there'll be more search engines in the future, for instance with the AI, that make the playing field a bit more fair, but at the moment it could just be that Google's randomly increasing the prices. The second thing I've noticed is click inventory is becoming more rare, and that drives up click cost prices. So this could be, for instance, more competition in the auction. This is something that you can very easily diagnose by going into the auction insights report of your ad account. If you see over time that there's significantly more overlap from a competitor, or or there's more competitors suddenly in the auction, or you notice, for instance, that a competitor has changed their landing page and has clearly started to be rewarded by Google and penalizing you in comparison to them, that drives up your click costs. Okay, so this is something that can happen because clicks are, of course, a limited resource, and with a limited resource, of course, that drives up the click prices. Also, it's simply how the auction works. If you have to bid against someone else, it drives up your bids, of course, as well. But something that I've noticed as well, which is kind of interesting, is that when you have long-standing search volumes for certain products or certain services, and they are actually declining over time, you are actually seeing something where Google realizes that clearly the real estate of the search volume for the service or product is declining over time. Thus, the inventory of sellable clicks becomes rarer. Thus, it needs to drive up the click costs. This is completely normal. It's the same what you do when it's just supply and demand. Basically, if the supply becomes less and the demand stays the same, then that drives up the price. That is literally how markets work, right? So this is something that I have noticed that happens quite a bit. So this is something that I would probably check as well. If there's search volume drops, that can explain why your CPCs are up, because the inventory is becoming less. The second point, so that is basically lack of inventory. I think a third point, and I want to say this specifically again, is maybe put competition on its own. I've already mentioned it because it can influence the availability of clicks. But of course, you don't act in a silo within your with your account. You act in a sort of environment of other players in there as well. For instance, with one ad account that we manage, we have noticed since mid-November that there has been a steady increase in CPCs, and this has actually been caused by a competitor changing their landing page, we believe, which happened around this date. It could have only happened around this date, and the landing page is much, much better than it was before. As a result, it actually is driving probably more leads for them now. Google loves them more, and it's not rewarding us in the same manner for CPCs anymore. So that's kind of annoying. These are the sort of things where you need to react to, and this is how you can improve your CPCs when you react to sort of that, and just improve your, for instance, positioning against your competitors, which is what they've done to us. So hats off to them. But yeah, of course, it's negatively affecting us. Then the fourth point that I can mention is that you may be using the wrong match type and targeting irrelevant searches. So very often when we don't do the fundamentals, and there's some like poor management of the account happening, let's say for instance poor conversion signals as a basis, and then you add in broad match into the mix, very often this can cause your ads to show on irrelevant searches. This can also happen, for instance, when you add or remove PMAX or something like that, which typically has normally some lower click cost, but can also generate some really bizarre outcomes. And as a result, you will be seeing that sometimes click costs go up from a certain point. So this also happened to one of our accounts where mid-October the click costs went up, and it turned out to be that the client accidentally hid. So we noticed this like in November or something, but the client had accidentally added a broad match keyword into the account, and that generated really high CPCs. And we've also noticed this before when we, for instance, removed PMAX from an account, and then suddenly the search CPC spiked. But that was, for instance, a good thing with one of our other clients, because we actually started generating more sales because search delivered more quality leads, which we're happy to pay more premium prices for. But it is an explanatory factor. So what the fourth thing that you need to look for is structural changes. So for instance, changes in campaigns that you launched or paused, keywords you added or paused, etc., etc. The fifth thing that I would look at is your bidding strategies. Have your bid strategies been changed? So for instance, if your CPC suddenly go up, and you'll have a look, and it could be that you simply swapped from a target CPA strategy to max conversions, or target ROAS to max conversion value, or you dropped your ROAS target or increased your CPA target, of course you will pay more for clicks. So this is just something that can naturally happen, and then you just have to refine your bidding and change your bidding around. This could just be masking an issue though, so you would have to double and triple check that it's not just due to bid strategy, but that other factors would have to be checked then too. Then the sixth thing that could be causing higher CPCs is a low quality score. So typically quality score, I've done a full episode on the quality score, consists of 3 areas. As you expect, a click-through rate, your ad relevance, and your landing page experience. It only shows for keywords, but it is proven that Google will judge you, for instance, based on that for shopping, for instance, as well. So it does influence your shopping campaigns too. And my suggestion here is pretty straightforward, is to work through improving your quality scores. So if you expect a click-through rate is poor, make sure that you actually write really good ads, that you make sure you stand out with your messaging against your competitors, that you make sure that you regularly add negative keywords to improve the click-through rate of your ads. You will want to group ad groups tightly in order to improve ad relevance and to write better ads in relation to the keywords and the search terms, of course. And you will want to improve your landing page relevance by, for instance, making it lightning quick, making it relevant in relating to the search term, and more importantly, to provide a good user experience that includes a fully functioning website and actually a great offer. And those are sort of the things that you can diagnose and then sort of start working on, okay? So in sum, usually there's 6 things that I would look at. It's first of all arbitrary, like if all the other stuff hasn't changed, this is maybe just arbitrary from Google. Then the second thing is then something influencing it by inventory, for instance, competition could be one. And then there's just fewer clicks available, driving up click costs, or it's search volume dropping, driving up click costs. Third, is it competition? Is it maybe a stronger competitors come in? Maybe they've changed the bid strategy, maybe, which you can't see, but you can maybe see from their ad rank and how often they appear. You can also see that from the auction insights. Okay. The fourth thing that you will want to look at are structural changes. Is, for instance, something been changed in terms of keywords, in terms of negative keywords, in terms of campaign types that have been switched on or off or added, etc., etc. The fifth thing that you will want to look at, quality score, right? Quality score is super important that you want to check that and check based on that everything is working as it should. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned the sixth one just now, but I'll be honest, I literally just forgot. So, but you can go back 20 seconds, 30 seconds and listen to what I was saying. Now, what other actionable insights can you actually do? So one thing I've already mentioned is increase your click-through rate and your expected click-through rate. You can use better segmentation of your ads, write better ad copy, simple as that. Make it better than your competitors, do some competition research, and then of course write better ads for that. You can use things such as dynamic keyword insertion, add, for instance, more ad assets, right? So site links and other extensions to boost the click-through rate of your ads. So they're not just there for cosmetic reasons, they're actually there in order to improve your quality score, right? And of course you can be more timely with your ads, that sort of stuff, in order to improve the expected click-through rate. You can improve the ad relevance by more tightly grouping your ads in order to write better ads. And then for the landing page relevance, I'd almost always would recommend that you improve the landing page speed or have it improved by a web developer, and play around a little bit with some of the headlines and subheadlines and the content of the site in order to maximize the landing page relevance, which improves that of your keywords. I would also have a look at making a better offer than your competitors and improving your entire customer experience. So that means improving the bounce rate on the site, improving your offer, improving the navigability of the site, all of the things that Google loves, and all of the things that improve your rankings with Google. I would see what you can do with, for instance, having a look at things such as bidding strategy, right? Maybe you can adjust that slightly in order to do something about your rise in CPCs. I would also always refine the targeting. So for instance, exclude irrelevant audience, remove negative keywords, which all add negative keywords, which all improves the relevance of your ads and thus reducing your CPCs. I would also have a look at pausing anything that may be causing high CPCs. So for instance, if you've had introduced new keywords or other campaigns which are driving up the click costs ridiculously, or maybe there are products which are just driving up costs unnecessarily or without any kind of explanation, then I would do that as well. The thing is, you can't really do much else because your CPC is determined usually by a bid, which is what it is, right? You can't really probably change much of that. And it is also influenced by outside factors. The only thing that you can do to react to that is analyze what is going on around you and maybe causing that, and then try to be better than the others. You'll also, in fairness, have to accept some sort of level of inflation. There will always be a drive up in click costs. As a result, it's not always really a bad thing either. And with that, your performance should, it's just something that you need to live with, so to speak. Over time, I would then adjust that. Probably every 30 days, I check in if there has actually been an improvement in all of those things that you have worked on. For instance, quality score, you can always see what the difference between historical and actual quality score is at the moment to see if there has been an improvement in the changes that you've made. If not, then you have to go back to the drawing board and do that again. And with that, I may have missed out on a couple of things, but at least it's given you a really good idea on what to work on. And if you want to have a full-on diagnosis, you're more than welcome to always get in touch with me with Jeremy Young, Google Ads and LinkedIn. You can also head to the website younganddigital.marketing and book a one-to-one call with me. You can also always email me at jeremy@younganddigital.marketing. You can always just send in some listener questions as well, which I'm more than happy to read out. And with that, I wish you a happy and productive week ahead. This has been Jeremy Young, your Google Ads expert, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Google Ads Unleashed. To connect with Jeremy, check him out online at www.younganddigital.marketing. We'll see you next time.